Hey, what's up everyone? The Dan Sandwich here. I am back in BeamNG career mode, uh, but that's really just a backdrop that I'm going to be using while I kind of talk to you, the viewer, um, because I have ADHD and I need to be doing something while I talk, and I presume that you probably also have ADHD and need something more interesting to look at than my face talking to you. But yeah, I thought I would do a kind of a recap of 2023 because we're at the end of 2023 by the time I'm recording this. Maybe you're watching this in 2024 or even further in the future, which I would wonder why you're watching a 2023 recap in like 2025 or whatever. But you know, you do you. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Uh, but essentially, I wanted to do this video for a little while actually, but especially now that we're kind of at the end of the year. Because this has been such a big year for me personally, and also for this YouTube channel as well. This channel has grown exponentially this year, and a lot has changed. And I kind of wanted to talk about both of those things because I'm sure there are some people who have been watching this YouTube channel from the beginning, and might have questions as to why some of the content has changed. And I kind of wanted to address that because, yeah, things have changed on this YouTube channel quite a bit. I feel like it's been for the better, for the most part. But I know that maybe there's some of you who have subscribed from the very beginning and are maybe wondering why I don't go back to some of the older content and things like that. And I just wanted to kind of talk about stuff like that. But number one, I just want to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel, who has been watching my videos. It's been really, really fun to watch how much this channel has grown and changed over the course of 2023. At the beginning of the year, I had 42 subscribers, and as of the recording of this video, it's rounding into almost 200. So that is just incredible. I mean, I can't say enough how much that means to me as someone who is just like kind of a hobbyist YouTuber. It's been really, really awesome to see how that has changed. Oh, as I almost crash. But yeah, I just have to say thank you because it just means a lot to me that so many of you watched my content and decided to subscribe. So thank you so much for that. It's just been really, really cool to watch, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I have seemingly found my niche with making automation content and consequently BeamNG Drive a little bit as well. And that's really helped me out a lot, not only knowing that, you know, there's an audience there for that content, but also just as a creator as well. I've really found kind of my footing in making that kind of content as well. I've been finding it a lot more creatively fulfilling because of all the different things that you can do, but also just, you know, again, because it does have an audience seemingly, it's been really good for me to know that, like, hey, if I make a video like this, there's gonna be some people that are gonna watch it, and as a creator, that's always very, very important as well. So thank you to everyone who has kind of made that possible by watching and subscribing. I just want to give a little bit of an update as far as what my plans are for 2024 and moving forward as well, as far as what kind of content I'm going to be making, and you know, just kind of a rough idea of what I have planned, because I find you know, it may seem counterproductive to have like a schedule for creating content, because, you know, you'd want creation to be maybe a little bit more spontaneous. But as I've mentioned previously, I have ADHD, and I do find it sometimes nice to have a little bit of structure involved, so I'm not just kind of throwing things together at the last minute, which I have basically been doing all of my life, but even especially with YouTube and things like that. So moving forward, I as far as automation and BeamNG is concerned, I definitely plan on doing one like new vehicle every week. That's kind of the plan, is kind of making a new vehicle in automation and testing it in BeamNG Drive once a week. Trying to keep that schedule going forward. I know I've kind of lapsed a little bit here and there just because I've let, some real life things get in the way. But like I say get in the way, but like, real life obviously takes precedent over. Again, this is just a hobby for me as well. But I definitely want to get into the habit of doing one new vehicle every week. I've also been toying with the idea of, because I did one video this year where I was kind of conducting sort of like a science experiment sort of thing. Oh man, this car just really does not like to stop very well. But I kind of did some science experiments where I took, one car and I went from negative 15 quality to plus 15 quality, gradually increasing all the sliders, and that video did pretty well. And I kind of like the experimentation aspect of it, kind of messing with the simulation a little bit. And I do plan on doing more videos like that. So maybe I'll do like an automation science video like once a month, in addition to like the new vehicle that I make as well. I'm trying to find ways to get more content out as well, and kind of messing with the different varieties of content as well. So that was kind of my thought, is I could do like, hey, like what happens if you do this in automation and how does it affect it in BeamNG Drive and stuff like that. Doing maybe one of those every month moving forward. The other thing I want to kind of plan on as well, I've been doing these videos in automation where I have the automation AI generate a car for me, and then I spin a wheel to decide how I'm going to kind of make that vehicle into something else in automation. And those videos have been doing pretty well, and it seems like people like that. So I want to do more of those. Probably do one of those every month as well. I think that would be pretty cool. And then the other idea I have is finally getting into like the automation campaign mode, because that is a big draw, I think, for a lot of people to the game, and that's actually originally why I wanted to check it out. Is I like a tycoon game in general, and being someone who is really into cars, I thought it was like a perfect fit. And then I kind of dipped my toes into it a couple times and found it to be kind of hard to get into. But I'm gonna give it a real try. I want to make a series of videos in the automation campaign. I think that would be really interesting as something to watch. I think that could be a lot of fun, kind of experimenting with that stuff. Even if I, oh god, oh geez, damage the engine there a little bit. Even if I fail spectacularly, kind of funny timing there, as I almost fail this car delivery I'm doing right now. But even if I like fail spectacularly, I do want to at least try it out and kind of make some videos in the automation campaign for real. So yeah, that's just kind of a couple ideas I have moving forward for automation and what kind of content you can expect from me in that game moving into 2024 and hopefully beyond. Again, I found that game to be found that to be really creatively stimulating, just because you can do so much in it, and you really you can just be creative, and that's something that I was kind of going to kind of touch on a little bit as to why I kind of stopped doing some other video content. But yeah, I think that's why I've kind of latched onto automation, and I'm just really happy that people have kind of latched onto that content as well. And then as I am in the BeamNG career mode, I would like to do more videos in this. A ton of people, not a ton of people, but a bunch of people liked my first video in the automation career mode. So definitely people, want to check that out. So I definitely want to make more videos in did I say automation career? The BeamNG career mode. I want to do more stuff like that because I find it a really fun and interesting career mode on top of BeamNG Drive, and it just gives me a reason to play regular BeamNG Drive. So I want to do more of that. Maybe don't know how frequently I'm going to do that, but I definitely want to do more in the career mode of BeamNG Drive. That's kind of like my plan for automation and BeamNG in 2024. Just, you know, do more of that, because I find that I really like making those videos, and it seems people like, you know, watching them as well. So kind of a win-win for me as well. The other game that I've been making a lot of videos in lately, and that people have seemed to like, is Session Skate Sim, which I know it's kind of like a weird, like, you know, I think most YouTube like gaming channels focus in on one kind of game, and I feel pretty fortunate that I've been able to make both the automation and BeamNG content and the Session Skate Sims content, and people seem to like both fairly equally. I think on average the automation stuff gets a bit more views. Granted, I've been making a lot more automation content than session content anyway, but it is cool that I can kind of like try different stuff and people still like it. So I definitely want to do more in session. I think I'm going to try to get a session video every other week. Maybe I can do it once a week if I, you know, can get again, like a more refined creative schedule. But right now I'm shooting for every other week doing a new session video. And what's great about that is, like, now that I have it on PC, the amount of content I can do in that game is practically limitless, because I have access to mods now, where I didn't have that before. You know, I was just playing the console version, which, you know, didn't have mods, obviously. So I didn't really have as much as I could do in it, and I think that, because I started making session videos back in 2022. I did a couple of videos in there, all with like diminishing returns in terms of viewership, which I know, like, views isn't everything. I get that, especially as someone who's just doing this as a hobby, but it does kind of affect how much time I want to dedicate to one thing. Like, if I only have so much time to make videos, and the videos I'm making aren't getting watched, it definitely makes me reevaluate what time I want to spend on things. So that's why I've kind of landed on automation and BeamNG content so much, is because, you know, people are watching them. But it's really cool that people want to check out my session stuff as well. And again, now that I have the access to like mods and stuff like that, I can do a lot more of it as well, which is going to be really exciting for me moving forward, for sure. So I want to try to get a session video out every week or every other week. I mean, I want to do one every week, but I'll just have to see how that goes. And yeah, I really want to do more of that, because that's another game where if there's a through line between like automation and like session, because again, on the surface they don't seem very similar at all, even if they are technically both like simulation games. The through line for me is the level of creativity that I'm able to employ in both those games. I mean, they're both very creative aspects. I mean, skateboarding in general is a creative sport, but just knowing that like no two session players are gonna do things exactly the same, just like, you know, no two people that are playing automation or making cars in automation are going to make the same car. I think that's what really has drawn me to those games specifically, so that you know, that's kind of been the things that have made those interesting to me and why I like making content in those games. So yeah, I want to try to do a session video every other week. If I can get it up to one a week, that would be great as well. But I don't want to take away from the automation stuff that I've been kind of focusing on. So yeah, that's kind of my plan as far as like the channel moving forward. Focusing in on automation, BeamNG Drive, and session. Not only because those are the games that tend to get more views, but also the ones I've been having the most fun creating content in. So yeah, that's just kind of like a quick rundown of, you know, what I have planned for 2024 and hopefully beyond. So if you are, if that's all you came to the video for, again, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, I'm kind of curious as to why you're watching this. Because why would you care about what I'm doing moving forward if you're not subscribed? So subscribe if you're watching this, if you haven't already. That'd be really useful for me. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about, you know, where this channel came from, why I started on YouTube, and why I no longer do content in the games that I've done previously. So real quickly, like, to begin, my original plan for YouTube was not to do YouTube really at all. As funny as that sounds, especially now as someone who primarily creates content on YouTube, well, exclusively, really. My original plan was I was going to play games on Twitch and stream games on Twitch and then host the VODs on YouTube, and then, you know, maybe edit those longer gameplay videos down into shorter, you know, videos for YouTube. That was my original plan, and I set out to do that in 2022. So I mean, this is like my second full year of doing this. But that was my original plan going into it. And I obviously didn't stick with that for a couple of reasons. So the main one is, like, Twitch or live streaming in general is really hard to get your foot into if you don't have an existing audience, which I didn't when I started getting into it. And what I find the most interesting aspect of live streaming and Twitch and things like that is the audience interaction. You know, when you have an audience, interacting with that audience, and, you know, even if it's just chatting with the people in the chat, talking about whatever, you know, that's the thing that I find the most enticing about live streaming or Twitch in general. The few Twitch, you know, channels that I watch and things like that, that's what I find so interesting about that in general. So when you're starting out on Twitch, and you have 2, maybe 3 or 4 people watching your live stream, and no one's talking in the chat, it's really, really hard to stick with it. And I applaud those who do. I think it's, you know, it's really, it tells, you know, it's really, you know, you really have to have perseverance to stick with something like that. But it was just really hard for me. And again, I know what every successful Twitch streamer or whatever is going to tell me is, like, hey, don't watch the views, like, just keep plugging away at it. But it's very hard when you're just kind of sitting there playing games essentially by yourself, talking to yourself basically, with nobody watching. And, you know, YouTube's very different because, like, you know, if I make a video for YouTube and I post it and nobody watches it, that's fine. I can deal with that way better than watching people's apathy in real time. You know what I mean? Watching nobody watching your videos as you're, you know, live streaming, it's very difficult to deal with. And so it just wasn't for me. You know, it really wasn't. I mean, maybe if anyone is interested after, you know, watching this, if they want to see me live stream again, I might do that. But in general, I just didn't find the process to be that rewarding for me. And on the other side, when I did start making videos for YouTube, I found that process to be a lot more fun and interesting as well. The process of, you know, editing videos, crafting some sort of narrative in the edit, figuring out what things I should keep and what things I should throw away, things like that, became a lot more interesting to me than the act of live streaming and doing that sort of thing. Now, it might have been different if I had been getting viewers and things like that and interactions and that sort of thing to start with. I might have stuck with Twitch a while longer, but it just wasn't there for me. And I did keep streaming for a while in 2022, and then I eventually just stopped because, I would say, hey, I'm gonna go live stream at this specific time, and I would get mostly just my friends would be like, oh, cool, yeah, I definitely want to check that out and watch that. And then I would go live, and there would be no one there, which is fine. Like, people have lives, people are busy and things like that. It just became difficult for me to deal with in the moment because, again, you're kind of watching people's apathy in real time. So that's why I kind of just decided to get, off of Twitch. I mean, I still have, my profile on there if I ever want to get back into it, but it just doesn't really seem like that's going to be it for me. And so when I kind of decided to go from Twitch to YouTube primarily, I had to kind of figure some things out. It started becoming like, okay, now that I've decided to do YouTube, what do I do? And it did start with taking those original Twitch streams and editing them down and doing that. And that's kind of how I, like I said, began to have an appreciation for that style of content creation. But I still didn't really figure out what I was doing really until this year. And really not until the last couple of months when I started making automation content. So I just want to kind of quickly run through all of my attempts to find my niche, per se. So the very first thing that I tried live streaming and turning into content was me playing the Hitman World of Assassination, which was the Hitman trilogy originally. So Hitman 1, 2, and 3, which is now, the Hitman World of Assassination. Which is a game that I love. I absolutely love playing that game, and or I guess games, but yeah, it's one game now. It's kind of confusing, but I absolutely love that game. It was super fun to me getting into it, and when I first started streaming on Twitch, I streamed that game, and I was like, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through the entire game, completing the suit-only challenges on every level. Which, if you haven't played the game, it means you can't take a different disguise. You have to be wearing the same suit the entire time, which is, adding a layer of difficulty on top of what is already a fairly difficult game, especially for me as someone who is not especially great at it, but it really enjoys playing it still. And I was like, this would be kind of a fun thing for people to check out, it has a conceit, it has a different way of playing and things like that. But the thing that I kind of realized, and what I realized why people weren't really watching, was because, if you're watching a Hitman playthrough, you're probably watching someone who is an expert at the game. Someone who's really, really good at it, and finding entertainment and seeing just how good someone is at the game. I am not the person to watch for that. I'm decent at it, I think, but like I still, I'm nowhere near as good as, the best people on YouTube or Twitch playing that game. So if you're coming to watch someone play Hitman, and then you see me, messing up and missing things that are probably obvious to an expert player and things like that, it's probably not that entertaining. On the flip side, I kind of thought, like, hey, my relative inability to play this game could be entertaining for someone. Kind of funny watching someone mess up and try to have to deal with the mess ups and things like that. The problem with that is, like, if you're watching someone play Hitman to be entertained, just like purely entertained in that way, you're probably watching someone who is funnier and more entertaining than I am. Not that I can't be funnier and entertaining. I feel like I can be. But there's a certain level of, and I don't want to accuse anybody of contriving entertainment or anything like that. But like, if I was going into it with like the intent of being entertaining and like, oh, look at how goofy and wacky I am, I'm messing up on purpose, basically. That's a totally different audience that are there to watch someone, maybe haphazard their way through a Hitman level. And I didn't really figure out if I was doing it like a serious playthrough of the game, like seriously going for the suit only challenge and like actually playing the game well, or messing up and creating entertainment through my mishaps. The problem is I was somewhere in the middle, and again, if you're watching that content, you're probably not looking for someone who is in the middle. You want either expert play or entertaining mishaps. And I don't think I was providing enough of either one for it to actually be that entertaining or interesting. And so I kind of realized that, and I was like, all right, I finished my way through that, and I enjoyed it, the process of doing it, and kind of chalked it up as like a learning experience for me. And then at the same time, I was like, all right, so once I do this, once I finish playing through these levels on suit only, what do I do now? Once I finished what I set out to do, what do I do? And I never really figured that out. So not only was, the interest from the audience not there, it became hard for me to stay interested as well. Beyond the original idea, I just didn't have anything else planned. And so I kind of abandoned it out of mutual disinterest, I'll say. I fully intended on when earlier this year they added the new freelancer mode, which is like kind of like a roguelike mode to Hitman. And I fully intended on making videos in that as well, but I don't know. Again, like, because I'm not an expert player, it wasn't. I couldn't really find an angle that would be interesting enough for anyone to watch that. Especially given kind of like the random nature of it and how long each of those playthroughs takes. It just would have been really hard for me to figure out a way to make those into videos that were entertaining. So I just stopped playing Hitman on. Well, I never stopped playing Hitman. I haven't really played it that much lately, just because I've been playing other games. But I kind of abandoned that series for content creation. Again, out of fairly mutual disinterest. My second attempt to kind of find a niche, and this kind of ran probably I've definitely done the most videos in this game. I think still out of all the games that I've done, was NBA 2K. At the time, and still every once in a while, I was watching a lot of NBA 2K content on YouTube. Primarily people who do like simulation style content where they'll like set up a scenario and then simulate through it. I always found that very interesting to see how that would always work out. I was like, oh, I could do that. I could make my own simulation videos and things like that. So I started doing that around the same time as I was doing the Hitman stuff. And I wasn't live streaming that at all. I was just doing it for YouTube. And again, this is kind of where my interest in just making YouTube videos was. And kind of how I started that process of being like, oh, I could just do YouTube for a while, and maybe I prefer doing that. So I was like live streaming Hitman, and at the same time making videos in NBA 2K, kind of like hedging my bets a little bit to see which one would be more interesting to me and things like that. And so I did that for a while. Like I said, I think I probably still have more videos in NBA 2K than any one other game so far on my channel. But the thing was, like, those videos take a really long time to make. Not only because it takes a while to simulate through the scenarios, but then you have to edit those and kind of figure out what to keep and what to leave and things like that. It's just a really long process. And the actual process of making the videos, it's honestly not that fun. I really appreciate those who do that. And that's the other thing too, is like there's so many other channels that do that I feel like better than what I was doing. For the fact that I wasn't really enjoying it that much, how long it took to make, and the fact that like I was, watching other creators do what I was doing but way better. Not that there aren't better people at making automation content than I am, because that's certainly true as well. But it just didn't feel like I was bringing anything to the table that was unique in that aspect. I wasn't really, kind of like what I was talking about with like the Hitman stuff, is like I wasn't really doing something that was different enough that would, make someone be like, oh, I want to watch this guy, as opposed to all of the other options that are out there for that same thing. So while I did stick with it for a really long time, I eventually just burned out on it, because it became almost like a chore for me to be like, okay, I need to set aside 5 hours to make this video that I'm not gonna really be all that happy with at the end of it. And so it really just kind of like, at one point just hit me where like, I'm not enjoying doing this. So why am I continuing to do that? And so I just eventually stopped. Couple that with the fact that like NBA 2K23 was just like really bad, and I was really not enjoying playing it. And it made me not want to make videos in it either. That definitely soured me on it, for sure. I didn't even get NBA 2K24 at launch. So like that's another thing too. Is like I didn't have the newest game either at that time, so I didn't want to just like keep making the old game that people aren't going to watch or whatever, and it just wasn't really something I was enjoying, so I just stopped doing it. But that was definitely, and even though I wasn't enjoying it, those were getting way more views than anything else I was doing, which kind of kept me interested in it for the most part, but it still wasn't something that I wanted to keep doing necessarily. Which leads me to my third attempt at content creation. So I was like, all right, people aren't really watching the Hitman stuff because there's not much that I'm doing that's different from everyone else. Same thing with NBA 2K. And I was still live streaming at this point as well. And I was trying to think of what other game I could play on a stream that would be maybe more interesting than Hitman. And I thought I should play a game that has player choice be involved in the actual gameplay and things like that. And I had never played through the original Fable, 1 or 2. And I was like, all right, here's a game that people, seem to have fondness for, that involves a lot of player choice. Let me play that on stream. And then at the same time, I was like, this could provide me with a unique editing challenge for making YouTube videos. And so I started playing Fable 1 on Twitch and playing through that game, and then I would take the Twitch stream and then edit it into distinct episodes for YouTube. So taking like a 3-4 hour stream and editing that down into several 20 to 30 minute episodes of my playthrough. And I thought that'd be like, all right, this is going to be a really cool way to, stream a game that has a lot of player choice, number one. And then 2, take that stream and find a creative way to present that for YouTube. It's not just a 3-hour video on YouTube that you just sit through and watch the whole thing. And I was having a lot of fun editing those episodes. I was even doing like TV show style, like like I would do like a recap at the beginning of every episode, and I would do like, here's what's coming next and sort of thing at the end. I was having a lot of fun like editing that together and figuring out how to do that in a creative way. And I found that whole process to be very fun for me. However, almost nobody watched those videos. And again, I was streaming it on Twitch at the time, and I wasn't getting a ton of people viewing it on Twitch either, of course, but I was like, all right, well, at least I'm going to spin this into YouTube content that I'm going to enjoy making. And again, while I did enjoy making that content, the fact that nobody was watching it was hard to deal with. There was, I think the last episode of that I put out was sitting at 1 view on YouTube for like 2 weeks. And that 1 view was me. Just because I always, I think any YouTube creator, at least views the video when it first comes out, so there's, at least 1 view on there. Because if you don't want to watch your content, then no one's going to want to watch it. And even though I was really happy with the way those turned out from an editing standpoint, I think the issue there was I wasn't doing anything interesting from the gameplay perspective. I didn't go into it being like, I'm gonna make all of the bad choices, or oh shit. Okay, I can still go. I wasn't going into it like, I'm gonna be as evil as possible, or I'm gonna, be as good as possible, or whatever, or, I'm gonna play through the whole game using only magic or something like that. I didn't have any sort of like interesting thing that I was bringing to the gameplay. It was just me playing through the game. So unless you thought that I was entertaining enough, or you wanted to see how I played the game, there wasn't really anything to it other than, hey, this guy's playing this old game that, once again, if you're interested in watching someone play through the game, there's probably thousands of similar playthroughs on YouTube already. So really the only thing that I was bringing to it was the editing aspect of trying to turn it into like a TV show sort of thing. So I even had like several episodes of that edited, ready to go that I'd never put on YouTube, and I subsequently have deleted off my computer because I was like, all right, these are never going to see the light of day. That I just was like, just decided not to keep going with it. At the same time, too, it's like, when you're playing a game like that, I kind of just wanted to play it and not necessarily have to be recording it or, anything like that. I kind of just wanted to play through the game. And so that became, another balance of me trying to figure out, all right, what games do I want to play to make content, and what do I want to just, play? And that was another thing that took me a while to figure out. It's like what games that I want to use for content purposes. And so, like, Fable was something I stuck with for a really long time. I, played it a bunch. Again, I made so many episodes. I took so much time to do that stuff, and I thought it turned out well, but nobody cared. And I understand why. Again, because like I wasn't really doing anything interesting from a gameplay perspective. So again, that was another learning experience for me. So the next attempt that I took at making content, and again, revisiting old games, was NBA Street Volume 2. Right around that time, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, found her old PlayStation 2 and the pile of stuff that we never really looked at from when we moved in here to where I'm at right now. And I was like super excited about it, and immediately went and bought an adapter to hook up to HDMI and play it on a modern TV, and immediately dove headfirst into nostalgia of old games. And one of those old games was NBA Street Volume 2, one of the best basketball games ever made, and I think still holds up till today. And I was like, all right, cool. I want to do like the NBA Street Volume 2 career mode and put it on YouTube. And I was doing that for a while. I was doing episodes of that where I would, play through it and stuff like that. But while I had a ton of fun playing the game again, one of the biggest aspects of that game is the music for me. And when you're making videos for YouTube, you have to take out all that copyrighted music. So it wasn't as much fun to play as it is normally. But again, I was still having fun playing it. But then the other side too is like the gameplay is fairly repetitive. Like you're just playing, 3-on-3 basketball, and once you kind of figure out the winning strategy and formula and stuff like that, you're kind of doing the same things over and over. And again, like when you're playing it, it's still fun, but from a viewer perspective, it probably isn't that interesting to watch. And I kind of figured that out when I was editing those episodes. Trying to find, like, I was basically just picking out like the highlights from those games and stuff like that, like if anything cool would happen, which cool stuff in that game happens all the time, but it's still like trying to edit it in a way that was entertaining was really, I don't know, I just found it really hard to do. And I just, again, like I wasn't having fun making the videos from an editing perspective, even though I was having fun playing the game. And once again, I was just like, I think I'd just rather play this game. And so I just kind of stopped making those videos. The last video that I did post, I kind of like didn't really edit it. I just posted like a longer video of the thing, and it was like that got the least amount of likes and views out of all of those. And it was just because like I just stopped caring really about making it into a video. I did actually, finish that playthrough completely on my own after I stopped making videos, and had way more fun because I had the music on and things like that. But yeah, it was, and again, it was all in a process of like, all right, figuring out what games I want to play for content, how do I make this into content, and what kind of content I want to continue making. So that was, what was that? That was my 4th attempt at finding my niche. So now we're on to my 5th attempt, which was also car related. This is my first like car related YouTube content, and that was in Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. I had really been enjoying playing that game. Just a super fun, like, I don't know, if you like that kind of game, it's a good one of those, like the simulation games and things like that. I was having a lot of fun with that, and I made a couple videos in that. None of them really did that well. Because again, it's hard to do one of those videos in a way that is unique and interesting, and different from what other people might be doing in that. I did a few of those. Some of them got views, some of them didn't. And at the same time, I was just like, all right, I don't know where else to take this. I don't know what else to do with this game if I'm going to continue making videos in it. So I just kind of stopped. Because again, it was just like not really that interesting. And there you go. I made like 3 videos on that, and I kind of just stopped. This leads me to my 6th attempt at finding a niche, and this one did eventually come back around, and this is Session Skate Sim. So Session had recently gone 1.0 on console, and I had, finally gotten like back into it. I had bought it when it was in early access still, and played it a little bit, and I couldn't like really wrap my head around the controls, because again, the controls are pretty difficult if you are not used to them. And so I, kind of didn't really play it a ton. But then once it went 1.0, I was like, all right, I better check this out, because I bought it, and now it's technically finished. I should, give it another shot. And so I thought I would make a YouTube video in it, because, especially like at the time, there wasn't really that much content for Session. And I kind of, because I spent a lot of time on YouTube, which is why I wanted to start making YouTube videos in the first place. I wanted to kind of offer something that wasn't really out there. It was like a different opinion on Session. And so I made a video in Session. I titled it session is the Dark Souls of skating games, and that was my first video ever to get 1,000 views. Um, and it eventually got to 2,000, which is super cool. Um, but I was playing on like easier settings. Like I turned the gravity down and stuff like that. And I got a lot of comments calling me out on that and stuff. And like, the gameplay itself I thought was solid, but again, unrealistic. And if you're watching session content, it's usually because you want like a realistic, skateboard gameplay and stuff like that. Um, and so that video did get a ton of views, and I was like, oh cool, I could probably turn this into like a series. I could play more session and stuff like that. And so I made another video in session on like the default settings, like learning how to play the game properly. And I just didn't really know what else to do in the game. I was still playing the game a ton on my own, and when I was playing it, I would like record clips on Xbox and stuff like that. And I did another video where I like edited all those clips together, but I didn't really have an idea for how to keep coming back to session and making more content, especially since I was only playing on console, and the limit to what you can do on console, because you don't have access to mod maps and things like that, is inherently pretty limited. So I just kind of stopped making session content for a while because I just couldn't find a way to make it interesting. So that's why I stopped making session content for a while. And that led me to my 7th attempt at finding my niche, which was Need for Speed Unbound, which that didn't last very long either. And it kind of led me to taking a break from YouTube for a little bit, honestly. Need for Speed Unbound had been out for like a month or so, and Need for Speed as a series, the popularity has kind of been waning anyway, but I still really like those games. And I was like, all right, well, I've done some car-related content on the channel already with like the car mechanics simulator stuff. Let me make some videos in Need for Speed Unbound, because I've been playing that and I enjoyed Need for Speed Unbound from what I played of it. I thought it was a pretty good Need for Speed game, one of the better ones of recent history for sure. I was like, okay, so let me do a whole playthrough where I only drive like the worst vehicle available, and that was the 1960s Volkswagen Beetle. Like, I'm gonna play through the whole game using just this car, and that's gonna be like the through line. That's gonna be the conceit. That's gonna be the interesting thing that sets these videos apart from everything else. And nobody watched them. Like, literally nobody watched those videos. Which is fine, because again, I kind of chalked that up to like, hey, this game just isn't popular. Like, people don't care about Need for Speed Unbound. And after I got a couple episodes into that, and I think I only put 2 episodes of that out because no one was watching them. And again, that was another situation. It was like, okay, if no one's gonna watch these, I'll just keep playing this by myself and enjoy the game in my own time and do that sort of thing. And after that had kind of like failed, I was kind of stuck, because there wasn't anything that I was having fun making. The NBA 2K stuff was the most successful stuff that I had been making up to that point, but I stopped having fun making it. I just felt kind of stuck as far as like, what am I gonna do for YouTube? And I took a break for a while. I did. I kind of wondered if I was ever going to get back to it. And that's when I found out about automation. I had BeamNG Drive for a little while, and I liked messing around with it and stuff like that. And again, I like the simulation, like tycoon games and things like that. So when I heard about automation, it's like, oh cool, you can like build your own cars and then like test them in BeamNG Drive. That's super cool. I bought the game and I messed around with it for a while. It's like I kind of got that that YouTube like itch again, like that feeling like, oh, this is really cool. Like I could make this into a video. Um, and so I that's where I started, and so I built that Lego race car, and that was the first video that I did, and you know, it had immediately done better than any like most of the other stuff that I'd done, because like at the time most of my videos were sitting between like 30 and 50 views, with the exception of that like session video and a few other ones that had reached into the hundreds and things like that. But for the most part, if I put a video out, it was getting like 30 to 50 views. And so that one did like 90, I think, or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, there might be something here. And so again, and the other part of it too is like I would just spend time like messing around in automation and like building cars and messing around with stuff like that, and I just had a lot of fun doing that, and it became fun for me too because like I could build a car in automation just like in my free time, not with the real intent of making it into a video necessarily, and then I could always go back and make it into a video later, and that became very creatively stimulating for me because I could be creative and do something that was unique and interesting for myself, and then I could turn that into a video whenever I felt like it. Like I didn't have to. It felt more evergreen to me than a lot of the other stuff I was doing, which was either cashing in on nostalgia, like Fable and NBA Street, or trying to do something that was relatively new, like Hitman and Need for Speed Unbound. Because both Automation and BeamNG Drive are still in early access, there's probably still a ton of people that are coming to these games that have never seen them before. So like the audience is definitely there, and then at the same time they were getting more views on average than most of the other stuff I was doing. So I just found it very creatively stimulating from all aspects, and ever since I started doing the automation stuff, like my views have gone way up. Again, the subscribers have gone way up, and it's just been really creatively satisfying for me. And there we are. Now we're all caught up, and now I'm, enjoying YouTube creation more than ever. And I'm almost up to 200 subscribers because of it. So thanks again for everyone who has jumped onto this channel. I know this is gonna be a really long video, so if you stuck it out and listened to me ramble this entire time, thank you. I hope it was interesting to see, still a very small time YouTuber, still, I would say this is still very much a hobby for me. But I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed and all that. Again, like, the comments on my videos have been mostly positive, which has been really good for me. I really appreciate that. It seems like, people who are watching my videos tend to be good people. So that's always good as well. So thank you for remaining mostly civil in the comments. I always appreciate that. But yeah, that's essentially it. That's been 2023 on YouTube for me. I hope to keep doing this in 2024 and beyond. I have still so many ideas for automation vehicles that I have yet to get to. So I've got so many ideas left for stuff I can do. And, I hope that I can probably keep you guys entertained moving forward. And thanks again for watching. I'll have another video out this week coming up as well, in automation, and probably another BeamNG career video as well. Like, that's more interesting than this one probably. That has more to do with BeamNG Drive than this one has, because I don't know. I thought this would be kind of a good way to knock out some of these point-to-point delivery missions while also just rambling on and stuff like that. So, um, thank you for watching. I really hope that you had a good 2023, and I hope that 2024 will be good for you as well. Happy New Year, and I hope to see you in the future. Thanks again so much for watching. I love you all. Goodbye.